9 to 5 didn't just pop up like 2 years ago. Women have been living with careers for the longest. And again, if it's that people that don't work don't find much happiness in the jobs that they are forced to actually fucking do, welcome to capitalism. Let's fucking overthrow the shit. But anyway, guys, do I have in me to do one more video? Let's see. I want to actually start this on. I want to actually do this, and hold on, guys. I want to try something. I'm sorry, guys. I want to actually see if I have a video on this already. I don't think I did, but I just gotta check. While my farm is pretty much running itself. Sorry, guys. When is the last time I did a video, a live stream? Don't think I did it. Uploads. Let me just check something. No, I didn't do it. Okay, cool. And so I'm gonna do a Professor Wolff video. And oh shit, add that to watch later. Add that shit to watch later too. Just going through some of the shit like King Thrash gaming. Let's go to response videos. Oh shit, I'm not even paying attention like I need to. Okay. And we're gonna actually do this full episode about what people are talking, what it was talked about in this whole episode. So, just bringing it up, and this is gonna actually top the 4 hour thing, but I don't really care about it topping it. Um, and hold on, I don't know why they didn't save. All right. All right. So, bring this up. Bring this up. And bring that up. All right, guys. Last video of the night. And I guess with this, I think I'm gonna probably be doing more and more things with the. Since I'm working from home, I'm gonna actually be doing more and more long format streams. Since it doesn't take me much to set up, just move some things around, create a second desk, if you were, and I'm gonna actually just be making sure that I address a lot of these topics. And one of the things that I find fascinating, I'm not an economist. I'm just a regular, everyday person that's probably smarter than most No, I'm not smarter than those people. I probably think in different ways than most people, and I can understand some concepts that a lot of people don't care about. But I am in nowhere near economist. I don't. And like I listen to like maybe three economists. But what's funny is that some of my best viewed videos are economists, and I don't know how. I don't know why. It's just like, yeah, like no, like a lot of people like what I have to say about the economists that I do cover. One, because they have fucking personalities. Two, because they actually give a damn about people. One is a Keynesian. Mark Blythe is a Keynesian. He's not some radical Marxist economist. He's a Keynesian. Um, he's made benefits himself, and he says it from Keynesian economics, and of course Professor Richard Wolff. Now, I've already did a video of him going back and forth with Laura, whatever her name is, with him and in a like 2-on-1 interview, style. But let's see him talk about his own show. I think it's Laura Graham. I don't know. I did it early, and I'm not the best for memory sometimes. But let's see him talk about you know in the economic update, capitalism, jobs, and depressed people. So let's actually get to it. What's up, Pleg? How are you, man? I'm good. Thank you for watching the stream. If you want to actually go ahead and hit that follow button and actually share, it will really help me out, man. Now, just to address the date of this, this was March 16th. This was actually released last Sunday. I guess it was done last Sunday and released to YouTube Monday morning. So I guess it's actually something that like they released it that Monday morning. And I usually catch it right after I catch Gym Quisition. I get the notification for this, but let's go. There we go.
Welcome, friends, to another edition of Economic Update, a weekly program devoted to the economic dimensions of our lives, jobs, debts, income, for ourselves and our children. I'm your host, Richard Wolff. I want to begin today by talking to you about a remarkable step taken by the city of Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada.
Now, the last time we actually did a video, or I don't know if I did the video or just watched it, where he was talking about steps done by cities. It was New Amsterdam, how they bought a lot of debt from their younger people, debt that they've actually used to live, like debt that they've acquired to actually, fucking just make it through life. And ironically, it was, they were actually forgiving some of it, or in some cases changing interest loans. And this is like kind of ironically, it's a right wing way of actually addressing debt and things that are owed to people. Like it's not even complete debt forgiveness. It's just like we need to pump money in the economy, and these young people, instead of actually spending money on paying credit card bills, they can actually spend money on you know, going out to eat at restaurants or going to museums and shit. It's a way of giving money to young people in order to fucking make sure that they spend more money. And it's a right wing proposal. But let's hear what Vancouver has done.
It tells you where Bernie Sanders' kind of campaign is headed and shows you that it is.
Aaron, shut up. Why would I shut up? Why would I shut up, dog? You on my channel, dog. Why am I shutting up? You're looking at me. You watching my stuff. Have fun with that.
Is already happening elsewhere in our neighbor to the north. The decision in Vancouver was issued by the British Columbia government, which has the authority. That government is currently a coalition of two political parties, the left-leaning NDP and the British Columbia Green Party. Those two parties together are the governing coalition. And here's what they did. As of very shortly, if they get their way, which they are expected to do.
So Aaron, dog, you have an issue. Please, my friend, what is your issue with me? I love this. What is your issue with me? What crap am I talking, dog? Please inform me, ma'am. What? I can't read you. I would say I can't hear you, but obviously I can't read what you're saying, dog. Oh, you have nothing to say that you know disproves what I'm saying. So you just shut up, dog. Have sit back. Maybe you'll learn something.
The level of income tax on wealthy people will go up. For those earning over $166,000 a year in U.S. money, their money above that, everything above $166,000, the tax on it will go from 16.8% to 20.5%. That is a significant increase. And the purpose has been made very clear. The people of Vancouver are suffering from gentrification, rapidly rising prices of homes, rents for apartments, and the government is pledged to do something to make Vancouver a livable, affordable city for the vast majority of people who are now being priced out. And that's expensive, and that will take time, and they have deemed it appropriate to tax those at the top, the ones who benefit most from gentrification, to pay for it.
So that's actually fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome. So what Vancouver is doing is stopping this fucking gentrification, where because I don't know, let's just address that. A lot of people literally have been priced out of their neighborhoods. I live in the Chicagoland area, and just in the South Loop alone, people have been priced out of their neighborhoods, which was really a very poor and shitty ass neighborhoods. But because of gentrification, because it's really cheap to actually live there, some land developers have actually came in and actually bought up the area to quote unquote make it look better and cause a spike in the price of housings in that area. And you know what's fucking fun? Is where they have to fucking share the costs. I really believe a lot of the times especially with things like, Airbnb, a lot of the things where people are living in a gig economy. Well, it has caused a lot of people to be priced out of their homes. And it's made not only home ownership worse, but it has made a lot of people who rent go up because of fucking gentrification. And Aaron, dog, hey, you're watching my channel, and surprise, I know I'm fat, dog. So if you want to continue to watch the channel, cool, have fun. I'm not even gonna fucking ban you, dude. I'm just gonna say thank you for watching. It is my pleasure to piss you off by speaking the motherfucking truth. But anyway, let's keep going.
The same government, at the same time, announced it plans to levy a 7% tax on sugary soda drinks in order to limit the amount of tooth decay suffered particularly by younger but also older people. It is an attempt of that government to begin moving in a different direction from what has been the norm. Taxing the wealthy is coming, and it is coming to a theater near you.
Now, I don't know how I feel about the quote unquote sugar tax. In a lot of cases, it is one of the things that, how do I put it? That doesn't affect a lot of the wealthy. As seen in New York, as seen in the Chicagoland area, it doesn't really affect the wealthy as much as it affects people who may have kids that may be on the lower end of the income spectrum. And the thing about it is, well, it's a regressive tax. But hey, again, this depends on how the proposal actually plays out. So let's actually hear this. The next point.
My next update has to do with a private report that was leaked. It was a report commissioned and paid for by the J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, one of the largest banks in the world. The paper explains whether or not, it answers the question, whether or not climate change is something that threatens the world, and therefore, if J.P. Morgan Chase needs to, and I quote, rethink its investments in the fossil fuel industry. And the conclusion of the paper, which I've now looked at, is remarkable. First of all, it answers the question with a resounding yes. Climate change is very real. Climate change's economic effects are enormous, and it is advisable for J.P. Morgan Chase basically to get out of financing the fossil fuel industry. That's oil and gas, for those of you who aren't clear on this subject.
All right. So this is actually mirroring a report that we actually heard from Davos. And the fact is, a lot of corporations are actually, the thing from Davos was that, hey, maybe we need to actually start paying attention to our stakeholders versus our stockholders. Stakeholders being workers and actually employees. And the fact is, in a lot of cases, that is still a reflection of the system of control because they want to control the narrative. And this is also something that is reflective not only of that way of thinking of we still need to control our narrative, we still need to make sure that we have a stranglehold on how that message is because we want to keep our fucking power. But, I mean, it's still making the right choice a craven choice where you have to fucking, it just makes more economic and political capital sense to start caring about the environment. And a lot of people actually don't Like, and this is a criticism that you see a lot of lefties make of a lot of these corporations. They're only doing it for cool points. They're only doing it for status or like yeah. I get it. I get that some people are actually doing this shit. Um. Oh shit. What the hell? Let me actually see if I can bring down a resolution. Oh yeah, that's the fucking reason why. Hold on. Yeah, the frame rate just fucking dropped. Hold on, guys. Let me try to close some shit. That should actually bring up a better picture. Alright. Damn, that shit dropped badly. Alright, cool. Let me actually just close this out. Bring this back up. But while we're doing that, while I'm bringing it back up, let's finish watching some more.
So beside one of the largest banks in the world taking a position, for example, diametrically opposed to that of the Trump government, and that, by the way, has been done by the largest money managing firm in the world, BlackRock, as well. So this is now a trend. But I want to go beyond that because the report says something even more important. It refers to the whole climate change issue as an example of, and again I quote, market failure. And here's what they mean: that for years now, decisions have been made on what is or isn't profitable based on comparing the revenues of an investment with the costs of an investment. And what this report does, which J.P. Morgan believes in, is to say we were wrong in our capitalist system. That's my words, not theirs. We were wrong in our system.
So, just doing some editorializing. JP Morgan has actually figured out that there we go. Good, we're back. Has figured out that the cost that we did ignore, the people with health problems, the destruction of their environment, the the some of the things, some of the nastiest things, the loss of species. Yeah, we didn't factor those into the cost because we didn't have to pay those costs. Now we need to. The people being upset about the fact that they can't find affordable housing. We didn't factor those into the cost, but now we fucking need to. And we need to do it before they come with the pitchforks. That's what this whole thing is. We need to do it before they come with the pitchforks. But let's continue.
Not to count the costs of environmental damage. Had we added those very real costs, many of the projects we've invested in over the years would not have been invested in because they weren't profitable. The revenues they generated weren't enough to cover the costs if you included the costs of the environmental damage. Good, says my economist hat. This is a recognition that markets don't count many of the most important costs of business in our capitalist system. In the second half of today's show, when we interview Test Fraud Wolff, she will explain, and I think you'll find it intriguing, that there are psychological costs of workplaces, impacts on workers that they take into their personal lives that really are big costs of capitalism that nobody counts, and that therefore the market, based on costs not counted, is making one wrong decision, one inefficient decision after another.
So I just did a video talking about Gonzalo. Oh, I say naughty words a lot. I'm an adult and I use swear words. And dude, like I can only say that. And so I don't know what the fuck to say. There it goes again. But there is a cost that people pay in working jobs that are just shitty. Like there is a fucking cost. Like some of the things that you have to deal with because fucking capitalism is fucking harsh. It's fucking hard, and it's just like the psychological damage that we do to people because it's part of the system and it's something that we've always done. It's just like, man, it's just, do we really, like, do we really understand the toll that we take on people? And then we tell people to suck it up because that's the way our system is. And Aaron, I do play Smite, and that's the only reason I'm doing this because I can't review games and review videos and actually play Smite. It's never turns out well for me, but I may actually play Smite a little bit later. But yeah, like the cost, and I'm sorry, Ben, it's not harvest time because I haven't gotten all of my fields sold yet, but you can actually see some of the fields I got sold. And it's going to be ready to harvest in a minute. But yeah, like there are costs to the system that we have now that corporations are just waking up to that we need to actually address. But let's continue.
The love of markets, the celebration of markets, as if a market-based economy is something to emulate, to celebrate, and to praise, means you don't understand how markets work, and in particular, how markets misestimate, ignore, and miss the real costs that go into the decisions made by market criteria. My next update is one that is increasingly in the news, one that many of you have asked me to talk about. And it has to do with this perennially embarrassing question here in the United States about the relationship between money and politics. Let me begin with a statistic to talk about one of the relationships between money and politics. There are three I'm going to talk about in toto today. The first one is when money is literally spent by or given to and spent by candidates for office. To give you an idea, I looked at the amount of money spent by major Democratic candidates trying to become the Democratic Party presidential candidate. And the money I looked at is the money spent in the last 3 months.
This should be fucking awesome. Now, mind you, this is just March the 16th. This is why we need to take money out of fucking politics. But let's go.
Up until, let's say, mid-February. Those 3 months are the 3 months since Michael Bloomberg entered the race. And the reason I chose that is because his entry marks a major escalation in the flow of money to candidates.
This motherfucker dumped $500 million in a presidential candidate campaign and didn't get shit for it. All because he was scared of the Bernie Sanders. He's going to tax his wealth 5%. Oh my God, 5%. I paid taxes and I had a fucking 12% effective tax rate. Fuck you, Mike Lindbergh. Fuck you.
So here are the sum totals of money spent on behalf of candidates in the last 3 months. Number one, Mr. Bloomberg, $409 million
Oh, I already did this
spent in those first 3 months of his effort. During that same time, the second billionaire running, Tom Steyer, spent $254 million.
Shit. Now, mind you, I'm not gonna do the mistake of like what MSNBC did and said by these guys dropping like literally $500 million. You can actually drop. You can give every American $1 for the money they did for failed presidential campaigns. These are the failed presidential campaigns. Fucking $500 million. There's 350 million people since it's 2020. You know, make sure you fill out the fucking census. But if they were to give the amount of money, they can have enough money to give everybody a fucking dollar. Or fucking $2 between the two of them. I know that look that campaign contributions should actually be public funding. Fuck private funding of campaigns. Should be public funding. But that will piss off too many of the fucking mainstream media, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, because they will lose out on those sweet, sweet advertising dollars. And yeah. Imagine having a presidential race that is only 6 fucking weeks long. They should do that like they do it in the UK.
In third place, Bernie Sanders.
Actually, Aaron, my main is fucking Soul. My main is Soul.
Who spent $117,000, roughly a quarter of the money spent by Mr. Bloomberg. Elizabeth Warren, $91 million. Peter Buttigieg, $76 million. Joe Biden, $63 million.
And the last two could only spend that amount because they were actually maxed out from their big ass donors. Their big campaign contributions donors, they were maxed out. That's why they only spent as little as they did. But let's continue.
Michael Bloomberg, $409 million. Joe Biden, $63 million. It's not even close. Vastly different amounts of money. The reason you've heard about Michael Bloomberg and Tom Steyer is not because they have a large political base. They don't have any. But what they do have is money. And if you think money doesn't shape our politics, then think about the fact that you've heard of and will hear of Mr. Bloomberg and Mr. Steyer because they outspend everybody else by enormous amounts.
Okay, Ben, that's actually an interesting discussion to actually have. Yeah, it should be spent on public welfare. I will give you that. But I also believe that having free and fair elections that are not beholden to corporate bribery, campaign contributions, also actually help the public good. But that's an interesting discussion to have. I welcome that discussion. Please, I welcome that discussion. But let's continue. Hey, have a nice day, man.
But that's not all. What about the money spent on lobbyists? Those people who are paid to be not only in Washington, lobbying the government, pushing whatever the folks who pay them want, but also in every state house, in every state of this country, and in many mayoral offices too. If you have the money to hire lobbyists, you get the ears of the politicians.
So, and that's one of the things. That's why you saw a lot of fucking cities, mayors, not the cities themselves, but the mayors actually break from Mike Bloomberg because he's fucking contributed to their motherfucking campaign. That's what happened. He gave them money, and so they was like, "Well, I'm gonna support him because he gave them me money." Fall in line, you good little person that I bought. Let's continue.
That's how money makes things happen. Nor are we done. Then there's the money spent on countless think tanks, media outlets, schools in which some ideas are promoted over others. You know, it produces a dead, stale conversation when money shapes what positions are heard, what positions are thought about, what positions are written about, what you see on television. And you exclude those who don't have the money to buy their way in. It means you're denied all kinds of perspectives, and you're provided with an endless repeat of those favored by the very few who can afford the money. If you're upset with the stale, old quality of American politics, thank the way money matters in our system. It's a major part of the reason people are disaffected from our political structure, don't trust it, don't believe in it, and are sure it's terribly lopsided. My final.
So let's just address that. Let's just address that shit. And this is like example. The fucking idiot, the incompetent bastard that's the fucking president right now. And say what you will, I don't hate the man because he's a Republican. I hate the man because he's fucking incompetent. And he's a fucking idiot. He's fucking racist. And he's a fucking idiot. And he's fucking incompetent. Notice I keep going to incompetence and idiocy. When this shit kicked off, this shelter in place, the economy grind to a halt, you didn't hear motherfuckers talking about how is this going to affect the workers. You heard people drop. You heard that the Fed dropped $1.4 trillion without any questions to the banks. Oh, they're going to pay that back. But it was just without a question. We need to give them money now. They parachuted that shit in. And the first thing that Trump and the Republicans do is go pay attention to fucking big business. Big business. Because reasons. But it's the fact that people aren't spending money is the reason why the economy ground to the halt. Well, we want to make sure companies actually pay their employees. But yet and still. Nope. Like, they dropped that 1.4 million without even worrying about how the fuck they gonna pay for it. It's like, oh, money, gone. But they're having a debate whether people are poor enough to get $600 or $1,000. And then you wonder why people are disaffected with the political system where it's all just about money. Money, 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 money. I'm going to run the country like a business. Guess what? Businesses are heartless and ruthless. They don't give a fuck about their employees or the people that they're trying to serve. They only care about their fucking profit motive. And that's not what I fucking elected government for. Okay, wow. But that anger just simmer. No, fuck that. This is not what we elect our government officials for. But yet and still, it's about the money. The money. Hey, do we need a system of barter we can actually have a standard? Yes. Should we worship that system? No. But let's continue.
Update for today is to, in a way, congratulate the United States Women's Soccer Federation.
Oh, this is fucking fun. This is fun. Because I've watched this video before. I'm not going to lie. This is not me reacting to it. This is me responding to it. But I watched this video before. And this is the point. And this is the benefit of having unions and associations and all this other good shit. Please, take a look.
They have brought charges of gender discrimination in a suit filed in Los Angeles against the U.S. Soccer Federation. The trial on these charges is set to begin on May 5th for those of you interested. The women soccer players charge, one, that they are paid markedly less than their male counterparts, that men's soccer supports more pay for women, even though the federation doesn't do it. The men support the demand of the women for pay parity. And the irony is, of all of this, that the men's soccer also feels they are being underpaid. In other words, what's emerging here is an alliance between men and women soccer players.
All right, so let's just address this. Like, this is fucking awesome. This is the shit that we actually need to address, and we really fucking need to understand. It is beneficial. It is quite literally beneficial for you to actually say, hey, I see you're not getting everything you need to fucking survive. And by the way, pay us more too. Who's going to suffer? The corporations? The rich? Oh. See, this is the fear. The fact that the two groups of players are actually starting to work together to become, I don't know how to say it, just to not shit on each other, to fucking get ahead. And something like this is actually where, fuck, I want to just buy a trash tractor, just to fucking use it as, how many horsepower does it have? How many powers does that have? Alright, so but it's coming together to say, hey, stop screwing over them and stop screwing over us. I mean, like, this is actually an awesome thing that the men's team has actually done to make sure that they are taken care of as well. But let's continue.
In which the men ally with the women, partly because they believe in the justice of what the women want, but partly out of a demand for themselves. They don't want to be told, we're not paying you more, you should shut up because look how much better we're paying you than those women. They don't want those women there to be an excuse to be underpaid and then that be used as a lever to keep them from being paid more.
And this is the shit that I was actually talking about with the Coach Red Pill video, where it's trying to put technically they're in the same class, but it's trying to put two classes of people against each other in order to say, look, you don't have it as bad as they do, or look, you should be fighting because they get more than you. Instead of just saying, like, look, let's stop fighting between each other. There's enough of the rich to go around to eat. But let's continue.
They understand, which is why I'm bringing it up, what all of us should understand, that these pay differentials between men and women, between white and black, between educated and uneducated, between older and younger, these are so many mechanisms to enable the employer to play one against the other.
There we go.
To say to the men, you should shut up because the women get paid less than you. To say to the women, we give you certain side benefits, time off for your families, therefore you should accept lower wage. These are ploys. They have one goal in common, to leave more profits for the employer and less for the employees. Don't be fooled.
And that's the thing. Like, the fact that they's like, you know what? I'm getting hit on the left side of my face. You getting hit on the left side or the right side of your face. Who's hitting us on this side of our face? And they turn together and just like, yo, motherfuck you, give us more money.
And the women's soccer players are taking the lead in refusing to be fooled and underpaid as they have suffered for so long. We've come to the end of the first half of today's economic update. I want to thank you and also to remind you.
Since he's using this time to shield, I'm actually going to use this time to shield myself. And I thank everybody who's watched so far. And I know it's been a long video, and hell, maybe a little bit later after I fix myself dinner, I'm going to get back on and actually do some Smite. But a lot of this is just like, just from Professor Wolff is actually saying, this whole thing of actually looking at especially where we can actually work together to become just more and better and stop letting money dictate our policies. But the break has actually been over, and let's get back to the video. I wonder if they're related.
Welcome back, friends, to the second half of Economic Update for today. I am very pleased to bring to the microphone and to the camera a guest who's a specialist in psychology. It's Tess Wolff. She is a psychotherapist practicing in New York City. She's worked with both individuals and couples for nearly a decade now. And she has also trained in art therapy and in hypnotherapy. So thank you very much, Tess, for joining.
So it's hypnotherapy. I actually know somebody who works at my job that did hypnosis as well. It's not what a lot of people think it is. It's just positive reinforcement. But it's actually pretty interesting that just the career choice of actually working with different people in a certain way. It was a good rundown of her qualifications, but let's see what she says about, dealing with certain shit. So here we go.
Okay, I want to jump right into it. This is a show that talks about economics a lot, but today's program has you here because I want to explore with you the link between how we experience the economy, particularly in our jobs where we work, on the one hand, and how it shapes our psychology, and a little bit on the back and forth, how the economy shapes our psychology and vice versa. So let me begin by asking you to kind of look back into your practice and what you've learned. How is it possible that you're experiencing on the job, where you work, in an office, a store, or a factory, could lead you to be what we call depressed? Is depression something that goes with work, sometimes, always, never? How has the job shaped depression in your experience?
That's actually an interesting point. So can you work a job and not be depressed? Are you actually just depressed because you work? Is just inherently, does working just make you feel bad? Let's see.
I think there's a constant interdependence there, where the job and one's feelings about the job sort of feed each other in this loop. But I feel that people are often increasingly without senses of meaning in their work and their workplace and their missions and the mission of their workplace. And this steadily and perniciously undermines their sense of satisfaction with themselves, with their feelings, with their everyday, because they spend so much time at work. The demands are so high, increasingly high, and the sense of purpose increasingly rare, that it creates a problem. It creates an estrangement from people to their sense of meaning and purpose, feeling good, feeling necessary, and mostly, I think, feeling connected.
So this actually goes to a principle that Karl Marx talks about. if you feel connected to your work, you feel as if it's something that you're doing to actually see the results in, you actually have more job satisfaction. That's why you see guys that are, let's use this case, streamers or artists, where they actually have more fulfillment in their work because it's coming from the things that they directly do. But if you're on an assembly line where you don't see into the finished product, a lot of cases you don't find that fulfillment. And more people are being demanded more and more productivity, more and more just they're being demanded more and more of themselves to say you have to make it or you need to pay this bill, so you need to work more and more and more. And it's fucking gut wrenching to know that no matter what you do to, work or give yourself to a company, a lot of them just don't give a fuck. And they only care about the profit. But let's continue.
Is it, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it in a sense that people have that they're just a cog in some big anonymous machine whose purposes beyond making money for somebody else don't seem to be clear, that they don't seem to be compelling? Am I getting that?
Yes, I think that's exactly right.
Exactly.
I think many people feel reduced to being a cog, which is objectifying and dehumanizing. So you're not a cog. Even if you're part of a many-armed operation, you're a person with the feelings and experiences and all of the personal attributes we embody. And so it's undermining. It turns us into feeling robotic, like automatons. It takes away the complexity and the emotional sort of basic experience that we embody. It takes all of that away to feel reduced to just being a piece of a piece of a piece. Especially if one doesn't feel particularly satisfied from the entire mission.
So, and let's just examine that. And I know I was talking through it, but a lot of it is that a lot of people have jobs where they just are just one piece to it. And then furthermore, in a lot of cases, they're being told, don't take it so seriously. They're being told, it's not that serious, or you need to perform high, but you shouldn't care that you're doing work well. It's dissociative. It just seems as a cog in a tool. I don't, as much as I shit on people about being the special little center of their own universe, we still have a need to make sure that we're making a change in the world. If we didn't have that need, I wouldn't be doing this shit, talking to you guys while playing a freaking video game. Because I have a need and to know that I'm at least talking and starting a discussion. May not be changing minds, but I'm at least starting a discussion. But let's continue.
Of their workplace or, whomever they work.
Also, in our capitalist system, things are organized hierarchically. All the interesting questions and problems, design of the business, goals, mission, that's all done by a handful of people at the top.
Yeah.
And that excludes the vast majority of people. So in a sense, the way we've organized businesses produces the very I'm just a cog in a vague machine mentality.
Yes, and there's all sorts of labels that different workplaces enforce. Some of them give numbers.
Exactly.
I had heard that Amazon people had numbers. The 6 was higher than the 5 and so on. If you talk about the reduction, the objectification, and the dehumanization of saying like, oh, this is my friend, fill in the blank. She's a 3, but I'm a 4. Oh, here's a 5. It really turns people into different heights. It's very, very reductive. And I think it undermines one's senses of connectivity to self, to other, to workplace, to one's time.
So this whole promotion of it gives a false sense of importance by actually breaking someone down to a number. Because what it ends up doing is it discourages people. And it teaches people to know their fucking place. And I'm sorry, again, it's breaking down the system where it's just like, no, I'm better than you because I have higher numbers than you. That shit is not interested in real life. That shit is not interested in storytelling. Have you ever seen a story where it's interesting because, like, this is the criticism that people have of Dragon Ball Super? Well, they want power levels, but when power levels are given, it's a boring story because I have bigger numbers than you. That's it. Like, literally. And it doesn't give people the expression of being themselves or surprising you because my number is bigger than yours. But let's continue.
Joke that I've come to borrow from I don't know who that talks about trying to be funny, that thing after work that we stop to do at the bar on the way home is called a happy hour, which kind of tells you what the other hours must be like to make that distinction.
Yeah.
Is that joke's notion of unhappy like what you mean, that it can be depressing
Yes.
to be a worker in our system?
It's extraordinarily and particularly depressing, I think, for human beings to feel asked to partake in things that have nothing to do with them on a repeated, lengthy basis. I think there's something terribly wrong when we feel that we have to participate in something that has no regard for us, no regard for our humanity. There's a splintering of a sense of self and self-esteem and coherence internally that starts there. And I think it's very widespread. I think our society, contemporarily speaking, has normalized the notion of, oh, you're an artist. What do you do, to make it? What is your job that you don't like? What do you really do? What do you really want to do? All of this has been normalized as though we should somehow make peace or accept the idea that we're going to spend an inordinate amount of our times, the time at work, doing something for which we have no particular affinity, with which we have no particular relation. It's terribly lonely making for the majority of people.
As an economist, here's
So, and this is like the fucked up part about it. This is the shit. I'm doing streaming and commentary. The fact is, how many people didn't used to see streaming as a career path? And how many people, like, I'm an artist too, but I still have to work a 9-to-5 job because reasons, and we need to make sure that you have a real job. Like, how many people like shit on gamers because they actually try to do this for a living because you need to have a real job? Only because we have been conditioned to think that entertaining people, even though there are people that aspire to be actors, is not a real job. But let's continue.
A question. Isn't it reasonable to suppose that workers depressed for all the reasons you've just gone over are not going to be as productive or efficient as they might otherwise be if they had a different relationship to their job?
Oh,
So, hey, maybe if we don't put our foot on the neck of our employees, maybe they would actually be more performative. Now, I can say that me working from home has actually been a little bit more beneficial. I've actually been more productive as far as being able to answer phone calls in a manner now that I am at home versus versus actually being at work. It's because I have a little bit more freedom because I'm not micromanaged. But yeah, let's keep going. We're almost finished, guys. We're almost finished.
Definitely. I think there's been studies about this on working on Friday and the 4-day work week and all the discussions there, because it absolutely results in less productivity in all sorts of measurable and less measurable ways, in terms of the attitude with which one presents at work, in terms of camaraderie, solidarity, in terms of just care that someone might give for a mission, for which they might not have to feel great relationship, but something. You know, when you take away people's humanity, you take away their
Almost
capacity
finished
to
with
give humanely, too.
This is extremely important because what you're saying in so many words is that the capitalist way of organizing production, top down, hierarchical, a tiny number of people making all the key decisions, isn't necessary, isn't efficient, can't be justified by some notion of productivity requiring it. It's justified because those people want to keep getting the bulk of the money out of it all and reduce everybody to exclusion from that. And the end
Exactly.
result is we all pay in less productivity.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's a it's a self spinning cycle, because people get more depressed and they get more and more likely to accept depressing work circumstances. So you can certainly stretch and widen someone's tolerance for mistreatment by slowly depressing them over and over again into inactivity and all sorts of other problematic states.
What about the
So, and this is just one of those things where it's just like, you have to just understand that the shitty you treat people, the more they're willing to accept it, and then the more you can actually treat them shitty. I personally, and this is my thing, you know, I actually, for a while, and if you watch my channels for long enough, I used to work 60-hour weeks. And then because they used to say, well, it's only for a little bit. And then they made it fucking mandatory. In a sense where it was, well, you're doing it now. You have a problem with it now? And a lot of people don't speak up for things that actually hurt them because they thought it was only being temporary. Then it changes to, well, it's working now. So what's the problem? And, you know, what's the issue now? But let's go.
logical next question? How does the depression that comes out of your work situation impact your personal life, your family life, your romantic, relationships and so on?
I mean, countless ways in which people, because at base, we first have a self relationship. And then from our self relationship as people, every other one of our relationships is informed. So, very first is how we relate to ourselves, because we're our first mirror and a reference point and all of these things. And then we relate to other people. It's not that the relationships are all identical, they aren't, to self or the other particular relationships and their respective qualities. It's more that first we have to have connection to how we feel and what we think and what's going on with us. Then we can connect to other beings. And so when that's undermined by an estranged relation to work and workplace mission, we start separating from what means something to us. Because in order to go to the same job over and over again, you have to start separating. It's a coping mechanism. Otherwise, you just weep all day and you can't be, acceptable. And that can then result in people connecting less with spouses, with partners, with friends, with children, with colleagues, with all manners of contacts.
Yeah, it's what some of us have seen on the job when you begin to notice one or another of your coworkers kind of fading out,
Yeah.
turning inward, becoming a little less of a social being.
And less present.
And less present even to themselves.
Absolutely. And less emotionally available for whatever may be happening. Positive, negative, or neutral. There's just less availability if you're distracted or dissociated. When people are in pain physically, sometimes you see them in their faces.
Yes.
Sometimes are a little pinched. Sometimes there's a little bit of sort of withholding energy that comes from them when they're in pain, when they're trying to navigate sitting or walking or doing whatever they are when there's pain. And the same thing happens on an emotional level. It's just imperceptible and not often discussed.
So let's just stop right here on this particular point, and I'm gonna let her complete it. You can't see emotional or psychological pain in a lot of cases. It can't, but it's there. And what ends up happening is so many people just start checking out. And yes, you do get those people who, let's just say it, are respond emotionally violent or does violence to, a workplace. But a lot more people are disaffected. A lot of more people are just, they give up, apathetic to the situation that's going on because they're so fucking numb from the suffering that they just like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna push for things. Just fuck it. It's the famous song where it's like, what was that? I forget the guy's full name, but it's like, I have no more fucks to give. My fucks have run dry, and it's just like and he says in the song, you try, and keep failing, where the system is designed for you to fucking fail, and not out of any maliciousness, because it's just easier for you not to give a fuck. And so, you get it where people just like, I really just don't give a fuck anymore. And it's sad because we can actually do so much better if we didn't have these crushing systems that we have in place. But I'm going to let this finish out. We're almost finished.
So there's a part of them that already isn't there, even before they walk in, even before they might be spacing out at this or that part of the work. They're already kind of less available. And then there's less and less availability after that.
Let me push you on this. Would you say that people are or are not, in general, based on your practice and in your life, are they aware of being depressed when they in fact are?
Yeah.
Is there an understanding in the United States that depression is a burden we carry because of the way we've organized work?
There's some, but not much. I think there's an ambivalence that resides in a lot of people who feel simultaneously dissatisfied with workplace situations and self-blaming about that dissatisfaction. So there's a sense that one is selfish for wanting more, or entitled, or they ought to be happy with what they've got.
Or they're
and
just
this,
whining.
Yes,
something.
this positivity culture that's been, I think, hijacked by a lot of corporations also adds to it, that we're supposed to be in a good mood and we're supposed to plaster a smile on our face and be glad we're not like this and that and this person who have it worse, and on and on and on, which are ways of shaming people and taking from them their, rightful, honest states.
It's literally gaslighting. We're treating you like shit, but you should be happy because you could be treated worse. That's literally gaslighting. This whole thing of, well, you should be glad that you have a job. There are people who don't have a job. It's a fucking carrot and stick approach. It's, hey, we have this carrot of you actually being able to live. If you don't do what we say, then you get the motherfucking stick. It's this whole approach that, hey, be happy that we're allowing you, you peasants, to have some of the crumbs off of our fucking plate. And if you have a problem with that, well, the last people that had a problem with that, they're no longer able to support themselves anymore. They're less of a person. They're less of a man. They're less of a woman. Like, literally, that is the shit that you actually see from these corporations, because they are so, their well-being as a corporation means so much to them that they keep you numb. Not that you hate your job, that you're numb from the constant poking and prodding and demand for more. And I'm not saying that they're doing it out of evil intention. No. It's just what makes the system work best for them. Because it works best for them, well, that's the way it should actually be. But let's finish this up.
Well, now the conclusion, because we have limited time. In your practice, what would you advise a person, whether or not he or she is depressed or aware of it, but if they are, in your judgment, depressed by their work, what do you do about it? What would you advise a person who wants to cope, maybe better than happy hour or something else, with this problem? What might you?
So, and one of the things that, God, I hear people actually say when it comes to this, like, you're unhappy with your job? Well, you should just get a new job. The fault is not yours. The fault is not the system that we have. It's yours. You're whining. Just like they just said, shaming. that you're trying to be entitled. Let's hear which, the therapist has to say.
You suggest.
I mean, there's a lot of things. I think one is there's certain literature you can read. There's certain things you can do if you can afford and are interested in therapy that can help, group or individual. There's all kinds of therapy out there. I think one of the things is to really understand that wanting to have a job to which you relate, in which you feel you are present and from which you feel you can learn is a very healthy, normative thing. And it's also a very healthy, normative thing to have a sad reaction when those things are lacking, especially more and more lacking, to understand the validity, to talk about things, including things that are difficult, especially things that are difficult. Because then you can hear other people nod and say, me too, which is a very powerful 2-word sentence. And this can start to normalize. You can start to make different demands. But people have to first be interested in how they feel, recognize the depression, and then open up about it so that it can be validated and shared.
It's the same recipe as across the board. If you want to change society, you got to first be honest about your own experience that makes you come to a position of wanting to change society. Because if you can communicate that to others, it's the best organizing tool ever invented, just sharing and enabling other people to share that kind of perspective.
Absolutely.
How do you...
So, and this is actually fucking key. Do you know how many people that do actually need some of the things that would be considered socialist? But they're told that they're whining. They're told that they're entitled because reasons. Because if they acknowledge it, then that means that they have to do something about it. If they acknowledge the pain, that means that they have to do something about it. It means that it's not just them. It means that it's not just their fault. It means they don't have to do a quick fix for themselves. And that's the thing. That's the problem. A lot of it isn't a quick fix that you can fix yourself by changing your attitude. A lot of it is we need to change our system. But let's let them finish this out.
How do you feel about the United States, given your practice and given what we've talked about?
Very sad, but also hopeful. And, I clutch at the little pieces of hope because there's so much, destructive stuff happening and there's so much destructive energy. And people are depressed and they're inactive, and it's understandable that they're inactive because they're depressed, but it feeds on itself. And so we really have to grab at the pieces of positivity. People who look like they're going to be honest, leaders, people amidst us in all of our places. We can look to them also for these kinds of honest discussions if we feel depressed, if we feel disconnected at the workplace. I think it's incredibly important to talk and to take risks.
Thank you so much, Tess. I know the time has gone fast, but that's partly when things are interesting, and we hope they are.
All right, so this is the end of the fucking show. This is the end of my fucking show for the night. I want to thank everybody who's watched. Thank you for all the views that I've gotten. For the followers that actually followed, Tron, you followed me on Twitch. Thank you guys. If you want to help out the stream, share the videos. Share, follow me on Twitch, Facebook. Follow me on, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help my channels grow. If you like to see videos like this, if you want to see some gameplay videos, hey, enjoy my channel. Tell me if you have any comments or other things. But as for right now, guys, it's 8 o'clock and I need to find me some dinner. And I'm glad I'll speak to you guys later. Peace.